The 12 o'clock interview with Jeff Carter.
And today I'm talking to Andy Cross, who's a private investigator, and I guess this is the kind of job that we've seen on television. We're interested in detectives, private eyes. So Andy, tell us first of all, what actually drew you to the job? What was it that made you think, yeah, I want to do that?
Well, Jeff, my family are kind of a long line of police officers. A lot of them are now retired. I've always had that interest in that sort of line of work, but I decided not to go down the route of joining the force for various reasons. I actually had an uncle who was about to start up his own investigation agency years and years ago, back in 1998, I believe, and tragically he died in an accident. So I went into a variety of different jobs in engineering, managerial positions there, and I think it was probably a Tuesday, and I thought to myself, I know what my boss is going to have in his sandwiches today, and I thought this is getting far too repetitive for me. So I started looking for something else, and had a chat with a couple of family members, and they suggested, well, why don't you try private investigation? So contacted an agency and was given an opportunity to go up there and speak to them, and that was 9 years ago. And the agency I work for, Answers Investigation, we've been going for our 21st year, going strong, doing well, got a brilliant bunch of colleagues. We're all very different but work very well together, which is really crucial, I think, in this sort of line of work. You've got to trust who you work with and be able to bounce different ideas off each other, which we thrive on.
And now it all sounds a bit, and I guess the way it's portrayed on telly, it all got that kind of a James Bond look about it, but I'm sure that Her Majesty's government don't often call up. But there's obviously a serious side to it. People want answers to questions. They want to know about things. So in the main, what is the kind of things that people are coming to you with?
Well, we work on a variety of different cases, really. I mean, you never know what someone's going to ask you over the phone when they call, or if they email, or if they come into the office and want to meet up. We do a mixture of corporate work, so it could be employee issues, it could be somebody who's been absent from work for a long time, and the company needs to establish whether they're going to be coming back or whether they're genuinely off ill. And obviously the private side of work, which doesn't necessarily revolve around what people perceive, such as the marriage issues. We do all sorts of different types of work for private clients. For example, fingerprinting, we do that in-house. We've been doing it for years, and often if you've had something that's been stolen within the house by a family member, the police won't get involved because it's a civil matter. So we're able to deploy the skills that we've learnt over the years, that we're accredited for, and work out who potentially has handled an item or taken an item, and give the answers to the client.
Quite painstaking work, I would imagine.
Yes, it can be. Yes, yeah, it's a lot of different aspects of investigative work come up in our jobs. So fortunately, as there's a good team of us, some of us are better suited to certain aspects of the job than others. So we're able to pull each other's resources and skills and apply them to different cases that we're working on, which, you know, we're not a huge agency, but we're very lucky, or I'm very lucky, to have a team that are creative and fun to work with, from different backgrounds, different ages. We do enjoy our job, and we enjoy working together.
So most of the people then that you work with, much as yourself, they've not necessarily done this from school. They've had other lines of work and then kind of gone towards this.
Well, exactly, and I think that gives our team a very, very good standing with regards to new things that come up, because there isn't a certain process that you follow with every single case. They can go all sorts of different ways, so having people with different backgrounds allows them to draw on their life skills and experiences and adapt them into a role perhaps where we are looking at something very similar that a client has asked us to investigate. So we have a mixture of younger and older people, so it may be that perhaps a family have got issues with a teenager that is going out and doing things, or chatting online to somebody. So we're able to adapt our role into looking as how we can establish what they're doing. If that means that we have to conduct some very discreet surveillance on that person, then obviously myself, I wouldn't necessarily go and do it because I'd be seen as a threat, or I'd be seen as being, a bit odd.
Yeah.
But we have people within the company who look a lot younger than I do, and males and females, so they can go out and do that sort of role. We're able to do computer forensics very, very discreetly with the parents' permission, for example, or the company's permission if it's a corporate issue.
Yeah.
Again, the wide variety and scope of different cases that come in allow us to really explore new avenues with our clients as to how they want to resolve matters, and we are perfectly prepared to liaise with police forces as well if need be. We've done that many times in the past, and currently ongoing a very large case with the Metropolitan Police, which will be reported probably in a few months, but I can't see any further than that, I'm afraid.
Well, we'll take a slight pause and we'll talk, and I guess most of us, it's intriguing work, and I guess surveillance is one that we see on television a lot. So we'll talk about in a little bit more detail how that actually works and how you go about learning those skills. That's coming up in just a moment. 18 after 12, the second part of our 12 o'clock interview coming up in just a moment. And we're talking to Andy Cross from Answers Investigation. We've been talking about and kind of demystifying the process, really, of what a private investigator does. I guess the bit that seems the most exciting and the bit that's often portrayed on television is surveillance. So how exactly does that work in the real world? And we'll find out in just a moment. It's the second part of our 12 o'clock interview, and we've been talking about private investigation. It's something that we see on television, but we're finding out about the reality of that particular job. An interesting job, a fascinating job, and a job which gets to answers that companies and individuals want to know.
Hot Radio, the 12 o'clock interview with Jeff Carter.
And I'm talking to Andy Cross, who works for Answers Investigation. So we were talking about, and I guess this is the thing that most people would find the fascinating thing, surveillance. How does that actually work in the real world?
Well, really, it depends what we're asked to look into. I mean, if surveillance generally covers the movements of someone. So, say, for example, someone's off from work and they're being paid statutory sick pay, and the employer thinks that they could be working somewhere else, then generally we would use a vehicle and we would go and watch them and follow them carefully, discreetly, where we can, establish where they're going. It may take 2 or 3 days to follow a pattern, and then perhaps we then liaise with the client to find out whether they'd like us to perhaps try an undercover role to approach the person and find out what they're doing, or to gather evidence such as photographs and videos. But generally it means sitting in the car for what can be a long period of very boring time where nothing happens, and all of a sudden in less than 2 or 3 seconds someone will come out the house, get in their vehicle and speed off, and you've got to try and stay behind them at a discreet distance, so your eyes are all over the place. You've got to obviously drive very safely within the legal speed limit, of course, and keep an eye on what they're doing. I think probably one of the most memorable jobs was it was what turned into a very long follow, but we got stuck in some pretty heavy traffic. Unfortunately, I was right behind the person driving their vehicle, and they had a massive satellite navigation system strapped to their dashboard, and you could actually squint your eyes and see which junction they programmed to come off at. So 10.2 miles and the arrow's pointing left, so you know you're fairly safe for a while. You can back off and then catch up at the next junction or two. So useful.
I suppose people don't realise that, do they? For your job, you're often getting clues from people that they don't even realise they're giving them out.
Well, exactly, yes. People will sometimes, follow a general pattern of what they do, where they go. So what we try and do is speak to our clients as much as possible to find out where they're likely to go, or where they believe that they could go and visit. For example, if they go to a gym on a Wednesday night, or they like to go to a certain pub or restaurant, then if that's the case, we're often able to perhaps adapt. If we're fairly certain they're going to go there, you can either get ahead of them or go right back, or plan to have somebody else there, one of your colleagues there immediately, so they can follow them in, give you a little bit of a respite from the physical follow, and then conduct a plan together to go in and get the footage of what they're doing.
So obviously you've got to be creative, you've got to work together often as a team, so that's surveillance. Now obviously your work has to be quite precise, because many times it could end up in a court case.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, we all of the investigations we conduct are absolutely by the book, fully legal. I know there's been a lot of bad press, and rightly so, with investigators who have basically called themselves investigators. All they're doing is trading in stolen information. We don't do that. The reason being is that our clients are paying us to find out something that may well end up in court, or it could change their lives. So by doing anything illegal, we're absolutely breaching their trust. We're getting ourselves into a position that we don't want to be in and can't afford to be in an industry such as ours. So therefore we do written reports, we take photographs, videos, we adhere to the laws that that surround that sort of process, and then we present them to the client in a way that their solicitor will be pleased to accept. And we do a lot of work for solicitors who employ us to do just that, because they want obviously to construct a watertight case that they'll take to court. We'll do witness statements, we'll appear in court, we will obviously present our video evidence in court if need be. We've liaised with the police where we've done photograph lineups on people that we've done surveillance on who've been committing criminal acts. So everything we do, it has to be above board, which is the reason why we've been going for this is our 21st year this year.
And just to round off, it's a fascinating subject, and it sounds like it's an interesting job. Many people obviously might want to know a little bit more about your services. Could you give us the website?
Well, certainly. Our main website is www.answers.uk.com. If you go to Google and type in Answers Investigation, you'll go to our main site. There's about 800 pages on there of things that we've done, and we're very open as a company. We try and dispel myths, and also there's a little bit about us as individuals on there, so people, when they do ring, they know that we are somebody who exists, and they can get a feel for who we are, because generally they will end up telling us things that have been on their mind for a long time and that are very private. So we like to be open as people. So it's answers.uk.com. We have a local site in Bournemouth, which is PI Dorset, and we have several other localised sites around Southampton and the south. So
brilliant. Well, thank you. It's a fascinating subject, and I think you've given us an idea of what it's really like, rather than the version that we see on telly. Andy, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
And once again, the company is Answers Investigation.